Good morning. Welcome, everybody. So can we just talk about the time change? I'm not interested in the time change. You know, I have a little tiny Brighton watch that's like a little purse, which of course then you have to take to the jeweler to get the time change, which means what? We're not changing the time. That's what it means. Right. So I got my watches changed. I got the microwave and the oven, but the other ones, I'm not pulling that off the wall. I'm gonna wait till my husband gets home. Right. So we are launching an amazing world-changing book, and we want to talk about it. Y'all want to talk about it? Do you want to talk about it, Cindy?
Yes.
Cindy, have you had a chance to read the book?
Oh, a chance. I've had multiple chances, and I took every single one I had.
Was it good? Did you like it, Picasso?
It was not good. It was fantastic. It was epic. It's life-changing.
Yeah, so the Epic IEP, you guys go get it at the great Amazon. Come back to the epic-iep.com and then put in your information, and we will get you $500 worth of bonuses released for all of you that pre-order. This is my life's work. I wrote it for parents, educators, and advocates navigating the IEP process. Because if you don't know, you are navigating the IEP process, or sometimes it's navigating you. So we're excited about you having the same resources that I train my partners, train advocates nationally on how to have a successful Epic IEP that changes outcomes for kiddos. So go get it. Go get one for you. Go get one for a friend. Go get one for a teacher. Go get one for a teacher. I mean, Cindy, this has been a great resource when you were teaching?
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
But I'm sure when you were teaching, Cindy, I'm sure the first day that your boss came in as a special education teacher, I'm sure he said, "Cynthia, we would like to give you this book, the Federal Code." Did that happen?
No,
So it was a couple days later?
Oh, no.
So in 27 years of teaching, how many times did you get the Federal Code? Like, more than 50? Less than 100?
Less than 100.
Definitely less than 100. Does it rhyme with hero?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
So go get the Epic IEP. It's going to change your life. It's going to be amazing. Part of our pre-order bonuses that you get at theepic-iep.com will be a free ticket to the Live Mastery Summit February 5th. 6 hours. We're so excited. So go get it. Go get it. It's amazing. And then part of the bonuses is that we release a few chapters to you ahead of time so you can start reading it. All right, Cindy, so what are the kids asking? If you guys have questions, just put them in the chat. This is Latte and Learn with the legendary special education boss, Karen Mayer Cunningham. If we haven't met, I train everyone to navigate and negotiate successful student outcomes at the IEP 504 table. And so if you ever need anything, if you need training, always go to specialeducationacademy.com. Follow us on our podcast, Special Education Boss. And of course, download our app, Special Education Academy. So you can just get a handful of special education information every single day. All right, Cindy, tell us our questions.
So we have a lot of them rolling in.
Okay.
So a lot of people want to know, you spent your years on the front lines of advocacy, obviously with your own children. What was the pivotal moment that clarified your purpose in writing this very epic IEP and formalizing your work into a national movement?
You know, really it pivoted for me Friday, March 13th, 2020. Friday, March 13th, 2020. I think we all remember. I remember I had IEPs scheduled for triplets, and our governor came on the news and said the schools were closed. And I thought immediately, first of all, I'm unemployed because I did all my meetings in schools. And then it turned out to be the best part of the COVID was this ability to go online for us to have IEP meetings. And now I train nationally. I represent people nationally. We do hearings, state complaints, federal complaints. And I would go on almost every weekday at 9 o'clock at night with a lot of Tarte concealer, Cindy. Late at night, you have to have a lot of concealer. And I would go, this is a lie, this is a lie, this is a lie. Because I couldn't stand for my parents to be misled. You know, I always say that parents who have a child with a disability are the easiest population to manipulate, and people do that. And so these processes and protocols and pathways that I use to write an Epic IEP. I just know, right? And so I started training, doing a lot of in-person training, did a lot of online training, and everybody's like, "But do you have that written down somewhere? Do you have that written down somewhere?" I'm like, "Yes, it's written down in here." And so there's a lot going on in here under the back comb. And, it's my love letter to you. This book is my love letter to you, that if I'm gone tomorrow, if tomorrow never comes, you would have this book so that whoever you are, a surrogate parent, a grandparent, a foster parent, a step parent, and a diagnostician, a principal, IEP chair, special educator, para, and advocates, that you would know the same process that I use to write an Epic IEP for any child that I serve. And you're going to love it. It's heartwarming, and it's actionable, but I think it's going to re-energize you for this vocation, because it's not about your why. I can't stand when people go, don't forget your why. It's really about your who. And you are most powerfully positioned to serve the person that you are or once were. And this book is going to do that.
I can attest to that, because as you were listing who this book was written for, I've been in 4 or 5 of those roles.
Yeah.
For a very, very long time. And you are absolutely right. And I didn't just purchase one of the books, I purchased many. So that way I can then give that out to others.
Yeah, because the book's $28 hardback. It's amazing. To be able to get this level of information that's actionable, there are many, and if I turn my camera, I have shelves and shelves and shelves of diagnostic books, assessment books, doctor medical books, the DSM-5 criteria, academic books, law books. And while those are good, they're not necessarily helpful in an IEP meeting with 15, 20 people who are so excited that you're there, right? So this is going to be the same play that we run for everybody, but we all have a different purview. So at the end of every chapter, the Epic IEP is a checklist for parents, a checklist for educators, a checklist for advocates, because our input and purview is so important as we build an IEP that will change a child's future and give a family hope.
What is your most pervasive systemic issue in the implementation of IEPs today? And how does your book equip parents and professionals to respond constructively?
Yeah, you have to be ready for somebody to disagree with you. And I don't know why we're so shocked that we don't agree, right? Seeing things differently is part of the human experience. And if you don't have the language to overcome that, you're going to struggle to be successful at IEP meetings, right? And so there are a lot of people that know the law, but they're not really good communicators. And they know the obligation, but they're not good at conveying their position. And so this gives you not just the what and the why, but the how to do it, right? We know the what and the why. The what's the student, the why is we don't apply special education. But if you don't know how to do it in those many steps, the IEP that your child has might be a failure. And then, Cindy, we're so busy training teachers. And you were a MTSS lead in Florida for years. We're so busy training educators on a policy or a practice or a vendor software. Guess what? Kids aren't a software. And so wherever you are, if you're in Missouri, Manhattan, Michigan, or the Kodiak Islands, you're going to be able to write an Epic IEP for that student to have successful outcomes.
What about Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. Mass. We just say Mass.
Mass. I like that.
Yeah.
Advocacy often arises from personal experiences. How has your own journey as a parent and then as a public advocate shaped the way you train others, like me, to engage with the school systems? Yeah,
so I tell anybody that I'm training, when I start out of training, we are in the service business. If you don't have a heart to serve people, you should probably, ask for a refund and leave the training, because we're serving people. And if we weren't doing this as a service, I don't know that I could do it long term, because I'd probably bop somebody in the head. But when I take on a new client, I'm advocating for them exactly how I would have advocated for my child. And I wish somebody had been in front of me that I could have followed in the 90s, in the 2000s. That sounds so long ago. That doesn't seem so long ago, the 90s, 30 years ago. And I just, powered my way through it. I'm sure there are people that didn't enjoy my powering the way through it. I reached and grasped for all the resources that I could get. But in the 90s, we weren't exactly, on the Faceplace and the Gram and the tickety talk, right? We were just, you could call your friend or your girlfriend. But even if they had a child with disability, everybody's journey is so different. And this aligns the components of the IEP and makes you understand how it all fits together. And it fits together to serve a child with a disability. But I've had the honor and blessing of training thousands and thousands of people weekly. And 75% of the people that we train are educators. And they want the information, right? And this is going to be a game changer for them.
This special education started in 1975. Your journey began in 1990. Your journey was the start to all of our journeys now. You didn't have a Karen Mayer Cunningham and the Epic IEP. We all do. And the journey is tough enough with your support and with this book, but I can't even imagine being able to put all your life's work into this book and knowing that it is going to be so catastrophically wonderful for the people who read it. I just need
catastrophically wonderful. CW. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on parent accountability for the way their children behave, and will this book help me figure that out?
Yeah, I mean, we're so focused sometimes on kids' inappropriate behavior at school, and we need to be, right? But for every output, there's a reason. There's a root to every output a student has. I think what's great about being an advocate is we're the one person, this is just a new client that I just got. Just, one new client. And, as an advocate, and we all are advocates, right? An advocate is simply somebody that speaks up for somebody that can't speak up for themselves. We get to see the entire layout of what's really going on with kiddos, right? Sociologically, at home, diagnostically, behaviorally. And when kids are given the correct supports, they flourish, right? But we have sometimes, I believe, and, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you will, I think some schools and leadership have set up a system of failure for some kiddos. 10 years ago, I couldn't get a child included in general ed. And now we just shoving everybody in general ed and going, oh, the child's the problem. No, I find that leadership is the problem. I find that leadership's not unaware of it. We get hundreds of direct messages every day. And most of them are teachers saying to me, there's something terribly wrong in the school. I've told everybody, now what can I do? And that's tragic. I can't imagine being in a vocation where you go to your boss or your leader to tell them about something that is ineffective in your classroom, and they pat you on the head and send you back to your classroom saying, you're doing a good job. So, our heart is to equip everybody.
That leads me into the next question. We're getting this one a lot. And the gist was that, there are many resources that exist on special education law and policy. And I have purchased many of those books myself. However, when I had yours, it was filling the gaps. What were the gaps that you were intentionally trying to fill with the Epic IEP? Like, what makes it distinct in its approach and its accessibility?
It is that it's for every child. It has nothing to do with eligibility, it has nothing to do with gender, it has nothing to do with age, it has nothing to do with the characteristics of your disability, it has nothing to do with your medical profile. That is the exact way that I write an Epic IEP for every student that I serve. What am I looking for? What's missing? How do you know how it all ties together? And how does it build, right? As the great Dr. Mitchell Yale would say, is it internally consistent, right? And so the IEP crescendos. It crescendos from evaluations to present levels to annual goals to needed accommodations, to the least restrictive environment, to the schedule of services page and procedural safeguards. If you don't know that it builds like that, we just have documents with lots and lots and lots and lots of words of them. And I'm sure the teachers get them and go, all right, well, I love kids. I'm going to do my best and help Johnny. And that's great. But some of the things that we're doing with a good heart are actually handicapping the child even more. And so you wouldn't pick up a prescription bottle and it would say, just take a handful of these when you feel like it, right? Even the label on a prescription bottle is sometimes clearer than a 50-page IEP. And so we want everybody that picks up the IEP, once they've written an Epic IEP, to go, oh, I know this kiddo, I know how to serve this kiddo, based upon the contents of the Epic IEP that we've written.
Absolutely. So what are the short and long-term consequences for both the student in the school districts when procedural safeguards are misunderstood or misapplied?
Oh, wow. It can be irreversible, literally irreversible. I was serving a client recently, and their procedural safeguards were not only denied, they weren't even talked about. They had taken a child, and the child had an incident. He was having a meltdown. He had autism, speech impairment, and just sort of a series of events. And she went to pick him up. He was crying in the office, and basically the principal said, you don't want to ruin his life, do you? You don't want him to go to DAEP. The SRO could put handcuffs on him if he wanted. I don't think any of those are your procedural safeguards and rights. And they had the parents sign a piece of paper for virtual school for a year. So the procedural rights and safeguards were put in place to safeguard the individual with disability and the parent of the individual with disability. They're not for the school. Wonder why they put that in place, so that nobody manipulated people. People at school have been given the gift of persuasion, and when they use it for manipulation, that is a violation of your procedural rights and safeguards. So I said to her, in my gentle way, Cindy, because I'm very gentle, I said, were all 5 IEP stakeholders at this meeting? No. Did you talk about a continuum of placements? No. Did you talk about the least restrictive environment? No. Did you talk about other options? No. Did you look at records? No. Assessments? No. Was there a prior written notice? No. Was there an invitation to the meeting? No. Then we have a problem. You have denied the student a free appropriate public education. He's been out of placement for 39 days, and you're going to need to make it right. But we just railroad people. And I've said it for 1,000 times, this unholy alliance that we have with schools and parents, right? The school says something and we just we just step in line, right? The school said it, right? I mean, if your guy at the transmission place said it, you'd go get another opinion, right? Or do you get an opinion for your car? Or that's for a doctor. You would still get another opinion, right? Yes. But, Cindy says, well, George, the school said, okay, then it's got to be true. How is it that we have one entity that nobody there could tell you a fib? How is that possible? That's amazing, isn't it? Nobody ever lied to you, Cindy, when you were working at school, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Nobody ever told you to keep up the lie, right, Cindy?
Always.
Yeah. I had a teacher tell me recently that they were trained in special education how to handle the parent instead of align with them. How to handle the parent. It just breaks your heart, doesn't it?
It does. Can you imagine if I didn't get a second opinion and I didn't find you, where my own son would be?
Yeah.
Life would be, I don't want to say over, but it's certainly not as bright as it is now.
Yeah, he would be sorting paper clips, because it's very important in life that we have kids in life skills sorting paper clips, because that's one of the top 10 jobs of 2026. Paper clip sorter.
Well, it was in the bin.
It was in the bin. You like a bin, don't you? I like big bins, and I cannot lie. Yeah.
The book covers everything from evaluations to placements. And I know I have all of them are my favorite chapters, but there are 2 that really particularly grabbed my heart. Was there a particular chapter or section that you felt essential to getting it exactly right?
Yeah, so it's actually not one of the chapters. It's the introduction. And, I don't ever want to forget how awful it was for me by myself in my journey with my child. And because I've never forgotten, it gives me a compassion for everybody at the IEP table. Everybody. The further away you get from a pain point, the less you remember. And I have complete empathy for educators and leadership and teachers and parents walking through this process, because it is tough. We do a lot of events and conferences and professional development for school districts, and when we have a booth at those events or those conventions, people walk up to our booth and they will use one word to describe special education, and it's a fight. And it doesn't have to be a fight. And the fight starts out over the paperwork, right? Because the paperwork will drive everything good and right, or will separate us even more. And so we need to have the paperwork pristine so that we have specific and certain outcomes for kiddos.
That paperwork is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. You've worked with thousands of families and advocates. Can you share a case where applying what you teach led to a measurable difference in a child's educational experience?
Yeah, I think one of the things that you will see throughout the book and the chapters and the amazing stories that will tug at your heart, make sure you have Kleenex, is that I assume competency. I assume kids have the capacity and the ability for acquisition of learning when we give them appropriate support strategies and supplementary aids and services. I think, and I know because I used to be that person, believe me, I used to be the most biased person in the world. You know why? Sometimes it's hard for us to have compassion for something we hadn't walked through. I didn't have anybody with a disability in my family. I mean, I had a great uncle who was deaf, but he was, when I was little, he was in his 80s. So I didn't know anybody in special education. I went to a high school with 34 people in my graduating class. And I would like to say for the record, I was number 9, Cindy. Number 9. It doesn't matter that there were 34 people. I was number 9. I don't remember there being somebody with a noticeable disability, and so it's very hard for people to have compassion for something that hasn't been a challenge for them or a road that they've had to walk, right? And so when this happened to me and I had a child with a disability as an 18-month-old, I had no game plan. But my game plan has always been, we'll just get in there and get it done. And this was the first thing in life that I came to that I couldn't get in there and get it done. And so I went and got all the information that I could from so many people. But I never forget how awful it was in those meetings, how awful it was to sit at night and cry because I felt hopeless. I thought my son's future was unachievable. When we had his first evaluations when he was 2.5 at Starbright Pediatrics in Austin, Texas, this very lovely lady said, well, here's his report. He has 15 of the 16 markers for autism. He'll always need one-on-one help. He won't have friends. He won't graduate high school, and you have to put him in a home. Any questions? Yeah. I mean, did you go to the School of Good Manners? Wow. And I snatched that report out of her hand, and I thought, you know what? If there's a way between me and God and Oprah to fix this, we're going to fix it. And so that started my journey. I was like, no and no options are not something I agree with ever. I don't ever agree with no and no options. And so I always say that out of my greatest pain, God birthed my biggest calling. And this very much has. And it's been an honor to walk alongside families and children with their educational healing.
Well, thank you for not saying no to Mikey, because obviously it's huge.
I love Mikey.
Yes. Thank you. Me too. And Mikey loves you.
Yes.
Especially.
Yeah. It's so funny. We're on a training. I'm on the training. Mikey will come over and go, it's Miss Karen. It's so fun. Every Monday night we have our Special Education Academy, which is weekly professional development. And everybody's kids are up. And I'm like, it's okay. It's Monday night. Like, let them stay up. We got football and Miss Karen. I mean, what do you need?
Yeah, you're like this special, like the Christmas special that you got to stay up at 8 to 8:30 to watch, because it's Miss Karen time.
One of my clients yesterday, who shall remain nameless, offered to mail me her beautiful redheaded curly 3-year-old. I was like, oh, I'm not taking new live humans, but I can do your paperwork and serve him. But it was so funny. She's like, he's making me crazy. I'm like, that's what children do. They make us crazy, right? If they didn't make you crazy, what are you doing?
That's her job. He's excelling at that.
Yeah.
That goal off. So, if you were addressing a group of school administrators reading the Epic IEP for the first time, what would you most want them to understand about the families that they serve?
That they are co-implementers. They are equal participants. And I don't believe schools really believe that based upon the actions that I see. And I mean that and the words that they use, right? I'll be in a meeting and I'll say, well, Cindy, can you share parent concerns for enhancing the education of your child, 300.324? And Cindy will say a few words and they're like, well, put that in the deliberations. But let's pivot and talk to the professionals. It's probably about the rudest thing that you can say to a parent, right? I don't care if you're the world's greatest reading teacher, and you might be, and the world's greatest volleyball coach, and the genius that helps kiddos understand science, and the most amazing principal in the world. You are not the expert in the child. You're not. Case law will say the parent is the expert. As much as you know the child, you're not the parent. And so when the behavior pivots and we act like we're happy to have the parents at our meeting, I kind of correlated, Cindy, to if I was having, everybody over for Thanksgiving and then you and George pulled up and I said, oh yeah, get a plate, but I'm going to need you to go back outside and sit in your car.
Ooh, that's cool.
You wouldn't feel included or welcomed, would you? So when we walk into an IEP meeting or log on to an IEP meeting, everybody's chit-chatting. I log on, my client logs on. Everybody stops talking. They just look at you. And I'll go, hello. Okay, cat got your tongue. Or we walk into an IEP meeting, everybody's chit-chatting, walk in the room, everybody stops, right? And then we give the parent the really bad chair on the end that slowly goes down. If I was hosting people in my home, I would make sure that my guest had the best plates and the best food and the best experience and the best seating, because I would want them to feel welcomed in my home. We need to make parents feel welcomed in their child's IEP meeting.
That is wholeheartedly wonderful.
Yeah.
What movement made you realize that advocating for children with disabilities, it wasn't just your profession, but your purpose?
Yeah, I couldn't not do it. So if you're wondering what you're supposed to do in this world, it's the thing that you're excited to talk about, you can't wait to talk about, and you're going to talk about anyway. If advocacy wasn't a vocation, I would still be doing this. 8.5 million children in America have an IEP. And so this book is going to be an international bestseller. We got we were contacted yesterday from Canada and then last week from the UK. Special ed knows no borders. It knows no, culture or ethnicity or any place on the globe. And when we start to think of children with the same ROI, return on investment, then we will pivot the way we pour into them. Was my child the most expensive child in his class? I don't know. But I think every child is RA. I think they're all ridiculously amazing. And we just got to turn this Titanic around. It's going to take a while, but if we all do it together, we can start to make some real change in special education. I just can't not do it. And if that's who you are, we would love to come train you so that you can go be an amazing Epic IEP advocate. If you're ready to leave teaching, if you're ready to leave being a realtor, if you're ready to leave, I was going to say your husband. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where that came out. If you're ready to leave the job that doesn't satisfy you, this is the most amazing pivot in a vocation. And you already have what you need. If you're listening to this and watching this and you're feeling like a little tug, do it. Make the leap. It is an endless need with nobody to help kiddos.
I'm going to stay with you. My real estate license is on voluntary inactive, kind of like the guy, but over my head. There we go. What is the single biggest problem parents and educators face when navigating the IEP process, and how long does the Epic IEP address that head on?
Yeah, I think that we're terrible communicators. I sit in lots of amazing meetings with amazing people who definitely went to school to be a principal, and definitely went to school to be a teacher, and definitely went to school to be a coach, and definitely went to school to be a diagnostician, and definitely have a child with a disability, but they don't communicate well. It doesn't matter what you're doing in life. If you are not an epic communicator, it's probably going to be a struggle. And so we all have this information, we all have these parts, and we're not very good at sharing it in a way for the other side to see its meaning. And so the Epic IEP does that for you. It makes it feel like we're all on the same side. And while allegedly we've all been on the same side, it's definitely been two sides of the table, and we want it to get to be at one side of the table. I always say that an IEP table should be a circle cut in half and then shoved up against a wall of mirrors, because we're all on the same side, the side of the student.
Yes, you are very, very good at teaching us how to communicate what the data says.
Yeah, in a way that people feel it. I just got, we just had a meeting this morning. And don't we love Mondays, Cindy? It was on a Monday. Yeah, and this little girl just had an evaluation. It's 99 pages long. Do you want to know how long they scheduled the meeting for? Say it with me. 45 minutes. Do you know how late they were starting? 15. So I'm not really good at math, but that's like BOGO. So I don't this is somebody's child, right? And we have to give it the value it deserves. There's nothing more frustrating than you having a doctor's appointment, because that's important. It's you or your child. And you feel what in the doctor's office? You had to wait, and then you're what? Rushed out of there. And so parents have that same feeling. And teachers have the same feeling. They feel like, parents are dragging it out, or advocates are dragging it out. And I think when we realize the so important elements of building an Epic IEP, you'll understand the point, right? If you were building a house, you wouldn't just go over day 2 and go, this better be finished Friday. You would want that builder to take as much time as he needed to make sure that it was level, that we have electricity run, that we have plumbing, that we have a great foundation. The Epic IEP is the foundation for a child to have a future, and for parents to have hope. It's going to take some time to build that.
That is a huge truth. You often say, when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everyone. What fires you up the most when you walk into an IEP meeting or a training? And I've been there when you've walked in.
What fires me up the most is, what fires me up the most, which is exciting, is seeing people think outside the box and do things. Let's try this. That fires me up. But the thing that I'm most disgusted by are people in leadership that bogart the entire meeting, run over people, and are just gross and nasty. We can all communicate in a way that's effective, whether we agree with each other or not. But when there's somebody trying to run the whole meeting and rush everybody and make people feel bad, that makes me dig in like I've never dug in before. Because if you're doing that to myself and my client in this meeting, it's what you do. It has nothing to do with me being in the meeting. That's how you operate.
Yes. What makes the Epic IEP different from other special education books or training? So why did this message need to be told now in this way?
Because, we have all the books, right? Here's the federal law. If you're struggling with going to sleep at night, you could get a copy of this. This is 449 pages long, and there's no photos. It's not like People magazine. It's not, Instagram. I have count on, I don't know how many hands, people that have actually read this book. I've read it. You can see all my greasy food fingerprints over it. But because it's a requirement for what I do, I have to know federal statutes to serve families. That's my job. That's the agreement that I've made, that I've told them that I'm going to serve their kid so that we can have significant student outcomes. And these are not enjoyable books to read, right? Law books are not, they're like chewing cardboard, right? So this is on our bookshelf too, the DSM-5 criteria, the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. And, there's tons of information in here. And you can go get these on the Special Education Academy on our bookshelf. This is 430 pages long. So don't see a lot of people on, after Monday Night Football busting out their law book. And even if you know the law, we have to sew it together to get buy-in from other people. If you can't get people to buy in to what you're selling, there's not going to be a good outcome. And so I have an agenda. I've always had an agenda. I'm running my agenda for kiddos to get a free, appropriate public education, which has been a federal requirement for 50 years, coming up December 2nd in a month. It'll be 50 years. And people told us the what and the why. but nobody told us how. This book is the how for the first time. Most books are the what and the why. Here is the law. Here's learning disabilities. Here's intellectual disabilities. Here's the law, the law, the law. Here's what to do if you don't follow the law. I love how we spend so much time teaching schools how to clean up what we messed up. How about we don't mess it up? How about we teach them how to do it the first time, and then we're on the same page? I've stolen so many people from school districts and trained them to be advocates and sent them on their way. And I've never worked in a school. I think we all know I'm a college dropout. But let me just say for the record, is this on? For the record, I'm not a quitter. I've dropped out of a lot of colleges. But this is self-taught, and because there was nobody teaching it. Even now, if you go on the Google web, is it still called the Google web? Or your boyfriend Chat GPT? You guys, y'all need to ease up on the Chat GPT. You think we don't recognize that in present levels? You don't think that we've seen a Chat GPT goal? Come on now. Is that, we have all this information, but it's not helpful, right? It's not helpful to know, the reason there's a sign that says the speed limit is 55 miles an hour. Speed limit 55 miles per hour. That's all it says. That is a conclusion after mountains and mountains of data that needs to be the law. But before you got to that law, there were many things and cases that predicated that to come to that conclusion. So the law is a conclusion, right? And this teaches you how we get there.
And I have to say that although I love my IDEA book, the Code of Federal Regulations.
We like that.
We love that.
We love that.
I even love your book more because the stories that are real transport you, and I'm getting the goosebumps now. You feel the way those parents and people are feeling in the meeting through your words in this book. And it gives you the examples and hope. And I was hopeless at one point. I'm not.
We want teachers to stay in education. We need you to stay in education. And this is going to give you a playbook. If you're on a team, we all should be running the same play, right? Nobody even knows what the play is. We just log on to meetings and people look around. I don't even find that some principals are good at even leading their own teams. We just like the diagnostician, APE, PT, any questions? Like it's like, are we at the airport on a delayed flight? Like, let's make this enjoyable, purposeful, and actionable. That anybody, I had somebody the other day that was 92 that read it, and she said, when I was reading the book, which I don't know anything about, it made me tear up, and I feel like I could do it. That's what we want. Anybody can do it. I'm nobody special. I've just done it a million times, and I want you to know how to do it the same way so that your families that you're serving, your kiddo, your school district has kiddos that win.
For the record, I do not think that she is not special. What is the cost mentally, emotionally, and educationally when families and schools don't know their rights or aren't trained to navigate this system?
Then you might have denied a child 80 years of being adulthood. Like we get calls all the time. Cindy does, she's one of our partner advocates, of families that have a 25-year-old who's sitting on the couch in their underwear playing video games, and they want to know if we can help them. We can't. Our space that we help are kiddos with disabilities between the ages of 3 and 22, a little bit older in some states. But after that, there is no free appropriate public education. There is no specially designed instruction. There is no interventions. In special ed, we only have one job in special ed. Just one. Did you know what that job is? To teach a child strategies to self-manage their disability. Wouldn't that have been helpful if somebody told you that? And those strategies are laid out in amazing, pristine, puffy, prescriptive PLAFs, targeted, attainable annual IEP goals, needed accommodations, and special ed services and supports to take time to teach those skills and strategies.
How did you decide what to include in the Epic IEP?
Well, really what not to include, because I might be a little sarcastic. just when I'm awake. Probably when I'm asleep too. I'm sarcastic. I like when people go, I like your content, but I don't like your tone. Okay. You know what? I just have one me. As my husband would say, there's one switch. It's on. There's no off switch. And so if I didn't have a sense of humor, if I wasn't able to sprinkle a little, levity in this process, it wouldn't be so funny, right? And so, humans are amazing and they're flawed, starting with me. We are all flawed. I think this gives you a way to see other people at the table too, and how we're actually so not against each other. I think that it's been set up through leadership and leadership to create this adversarial position between parents and schools. It didn't have to be that way, but nobody taught us how to do this. They were just like, oh, you have this law, go educate kids with disabilities, give them an educational benefit, go Bobcats. And so we were just told to do something, but nobody told us how to do it. And this book will tell you how to do it.
It is invaluable. What part of the book do you think every parent and educator should highlight and revisit again and again and again?
The part that says I have really small hips and weigh 100 pounds. We took that chapter out. They're like, my publisher's like, that's not true. I'm like, isn't it? It's just rereadable. You're going to hear things in there that the more you hear them, the more you do them, the more you'll start to see things in paperwork that you never saw before. This is what I say to parents. If the paperwork's not right, how can I expect the people implementing the plan to be right? When I can't, I get paperwork sometimes and I'm like, I don't even know what the eligibility is, right? I had a kiddo the other day, beautiful girl. She has Rett syndrome, speech impairment. She's deaf and hard of hearing. On the front page, it said primary exceptionality or eligibility Rett syndrome. Nowhere in the document, which was almost 100 pages long, did it ever say the word Rett syndrome again. So if we don't know what the eligibility is, then we can't have services. And eligibility simply opens the door for services. This notion that once you're in special ed, once you're in the pool, have you ever heard that? Once you're in the pool, you get everything. First of all, I don't get in a pool. That's going to mess up my hairdo. Number two, there's no pool, right? We give services and supports based upon the student's unique circumstances, which include their eligibilities, what's going on in their life, their medical conditions. And sadly, this school district, probably if I asked, wouldn't be able to tell me if we took a 10-minute break and everybody could write down what is Rett syndrome and how does it impact this little girl across settings. They couldn't tell me, right? They filled out the paperwork. They populated this document, but it doesn't have any meaning. So the paperwork, the document, the Epic IEP should be so good that I can pick up that paper and go, oh, we're in math class. There's Billy. And so if we get away from doing all the stinking paperwork and write the document that changes kids' lives, then it will be meaningful.
Yes, 100%. Can you share a powerful transformation or success story from someone who used the tools or mind shift that you taught in your book or your training?
Yeah, so many. So many. Yep. Just the ability to communicate words and phrases that are effective that I use all the time. My partners call them Karenisms. There's a lot of them, right? There's a way to say something that makes people feel something without destroying them, right? And so when we use these processes, protocols, and pathways and don't move off of them, that's when change happens. So people have a little bit of understanding. They go in, they kind of ask at the IEP table, can we have this? Can we do this? And somebody says no, or I don't want that. And then we just all quit, right? And it goes both ways. I hear all the time, well, the district recommended this as a better supportive placement for the student that has behavioral needs, but the parent said no. What do we do? What do? We do what's right by kids. We don't advocate for parents. We don't advocate for schools. We advocate for the child with a disability. And so, these processes where I stick the landing, I do stick the landing, and we just don't move off of it. So when somebody says, well, we disagree with you, we'll have to capture that. We'll have to capture that we agree to disagree. No, I would never agree to disagree with you when you're wrong about the student's appropriate placement. And so we just do all these sort of like cheeky things and, like we're at some place, paint till you faint, and we're all having a glass of rosé. No. This is a business meeting about educating a child with disabilities. And so, so many times I've gotten kiddos a communication device. Those have always been life-changing. I've gotten kiddos a communication partner, where a student who has a communication device has a designated person to be their communication partner, or as we just had a hearing, their educational partner. I've gotten them supports that they needed for a while so that they can be correctly included. So they're not segregated. We have, sometimes in schools, it's worse than it was in the 40s. It's like we have kids in that room down the hall, and then we roll them out so they can push around the coffee cart. I just want to take the coffee cart and run it into the back of somebody's heels. That's what I want to do. What are we doing? Or we just, parade them out at the homecoming game. We really can do better, but we have to assume competency, and we have to give the kids the tools they need. One of my favorite things to share with schools is the Assistive Technology Act of 1988. We like that, don't we, Cindy?
We do.
Assistive technology devices and services. And no, I don't think we have to do that. You do. And so, we always say IDEA, special education, is currently the only federal law that we know of that's solely enforced by parents. And I think that when we understand the reasoning behind IEPs, like the point, I think a lot of people don't see what's the point. What's the point in spending money on somebody's kid who doesn't talk? What's the point in spending money on a kiddo that's not going to be a school board meeting photo op? Because every human on the earth has the same equity and value. That's why.
And I have to say thank you for advocating for Mikey, my son, and not me. Because I just wanted to go in there, machetes a-blazing. But when you told me I am advocating for your son, well, guess what? That was the best, because what was I doing on that first meeting? Throwing up on camera in the sink. And guess what? I was so thankful you were there advocating for him and his AT, because when he goes in and he pushes, I love Aunt Karen, favorite. Yeah, he's communicating, which he had never done before.
Yeah, because he has the ability, but you denied him services and supports, right? So you could say, Karen, I don't really think you need glasses. I think that you could just squint all day. Okay. Like nobody would say I couldn't have my accommodation. I couldn't have the support that I needed. But because we haven't seen so many kids with disabilities be championed and be successful, and because we don't know what that looks like, we think it can't be done. And I know it can be done. Every child can learn. Adults, including myself, we're not sure yet.
I wasn't sure. I am now.
Yes, your sister wasn't sure. Her sister, when she first met me, had the nicest things to. What did she say? What was the loving? She was descriptive and loving. What did she say when you sent her a video from me?
She said, "What does this bleach blonde bimbo know?"
Wow. First of all, ma'am, it's color. It's not bleach. I wish it was bleach. That would be so much cheaper. Just put on some Clorox in the morning, get to work. Yeah. But she was right. She'd been an educator. I think between the two of you, you had educated almost 60 years as a profession, and you had no capacity to think that your school district hadn't told you anything but the 100% truth. And I think that's the hardest thing for educators to overcome, is to know that people that they have partnered with, their coworkers, or really their leadership, just looked them in the face and lied. They lied. People at the district level absolutely know what they're doing. They absolutely what they're. They're not. Oh, I didn't know that. You do know that. That's why you teach so much ways to cover things up instead of I think that we have to uncover things. Right? Light does two things. It illuminates and exposes, and that's what I do. We've got to illuminate things that are working and expose things that aren't. That's part of the improving outcomes for kids.
Okay, if you could go back, I love this one. If you could go back and give first year advocate Karen one sentence of advice before she ever walked into that school meeting, what would you say to her?
It's not personal. And that's, even saying it is hard to hear. It's not personal. If you think this is personal, you are going to struggle to be successful, however you said at the IEP meeting. This is business. This is only business. It is the business of educating a child with exceptionalities. And once we understand that, then we can do better by kids, right? It's not personal. It's business. And for me, when I was at the beginning, Karen, I thought everybody at the school was plotting against me. I thought they had all this stuff. They had these meetings and they met 52 times and that they had planned all this out. They hadn't. They don't have time to have lunch. They're teachers, right? Which was at times even more disheartening because the system is broken. We have amazing professionals from the school district who are never trained in special education. Never. Yes, they have a degree in special education. Yes, they took college credits, right? But we have more continuing ed requirements in Texas for people that change tires for a living. And I want people that change tires for a living to have that education, right? Because if they do it wrong, I could not be alive, right? When we do this wrong, a kid is denied a future. And so, whether people like me, lump me, or love me, I love you right back. Because I know change is hard and it's upsetting, but we have to change now so kiddos can win.
And my much older sister would say, I still don't like that bleach blonde bimbo. But what did she say about this? Or what did it was every morning. There were several more questions.
I am bleached and I am blonde. I've never been a bimbo. I'm not opposed to it. I don't know if there's bimbo training. Maybe my next book will be like from bleach blonde bimbo to bleach blonde boss. How's that?
Oh,
that's got a good ring to it.
Absolutely.
Yes. So you guys, thanks for joining today. Go get the Epic IEP and then go back to you can get it on Amazon or anywhere you get your books fulfilled, and go back to the epiciep.com, put in your information, and we'll unlock $500 worth of pre-order bonuses. This is going to change your life. It's going to change the lives of people that serve kiddos. And we can't wait to see you guys in the next training.